My name is Arthur Finch. I am 82 years old. I live in the same house I bought 47 years ago. The mornings are the best part. I wake at 6. I make a pot of coffee. The ritual is precise. One measured scoop of beans. The grinder's whir is a familiar song. I pour the water slowly. I wait. The kitchen window faces east. I watch the light touch the maple tree in the backyard. I have watched this tree for decades. It was a sapling when we moved in. Now its branches cradle the sky. My wife, Evelyn, passed away 6 years ago. The house is quiet, but it is a familiar quiet. It holds her memory in the dust motes dancing in the sunbeams. My children are grown. They live in other cities. David is in Portland. He works in tech. Clara is in Denver. She is a regional manager for a retail chain. They are busy, successful. I am proud of them. They call every Sunday. The calls are brief. They ask about my health. I tell them I am fine. They tell me about their lives. There is a rhythm to it, a script we all follow. Last fall, I slipped on a wet leaf on the driveway. I broke my wrist. It was a clean break. It healed well, but it was an inconvenience. David flew in for a weekend to help. Clara sent a grocery delivery service. That was when the tone began to change. Subtly, almost imperceptibly. David walked through my house with a critical eye. He noticed the stack of unopened mail on the hall table. He saw the single burned-out bulb in the kitchen fixture. He asked about my medication organizer. It was full. I was taking my pills, but he looked at it for a long time. "You're doing great, Dad," he said, but his eyes kept scanning, like he was inspecting a property, not visiting a home. After he left, the Sunday calls became more pointed. Clara would ask, "Did you pay the property tax bill?" I had. "Are you remembering to eat protein?" I was. Then David suggested a new system, a shared calendar. He and Clara could put reminders on it for me, doctor appointments, bill due dates. It seemed helpful. I agreed. It started with the calendar. Then it was a shared password manager. "For security," David said, "so we can help if you get locked out." I felt a twinge of resistance, but I dismissed it. They were trying to help. I was being stubborn. The next visit was at Thanksgiving. Clara hosted in Denver. I flew out. My grandchildren are teenagers. They are polite, distant, staring at their phones. After dinner, David and Clara asked to speak with me in the study. They closed the door. The room was too warm. "Dad," Clara began. Her voice was soft, the voice you use for a nervous animal. "We've been talking. We're worried. That house is a lot for you. The stairs, the upkeep. What if you fall again?" David nodded. "We found a wonderful place. It's a senior living community. Brand new. It's not an old folks' home. It's like a resort. They have activities, a dining hall, no maintenance worries." I felt the air leave the room. My house, my quiet mornings with the maple tree. "I'm not ready for that," I said. My voice was calm. It surprised me. "It's just planning," Clara said. "For the future, we want what's best for you." "I decide what's best for me," I said. They exchanged a look. It was quick, but I saw it. It was a look of frustration, of shared burden. "Of course you do, Dad," David said. He patted my knee. "Just think about it. We put a deposit down to hold a unit. It's refundable, no pressure." They had put a deposit down without asking me. This was presented as a kindness, a favor they had done. I returned home. The house felt different. It felt like something already slipping away. The shared calendar pinged with a reminder for a community open house at the Cedars. I deleted it. The Sunday calls shifted. The questions became more direct. "Did you forget to take your trash bins out this week? The neighbor mentioned it." I had been out early for a blood test. I forgot. A single instance. "Your check to the water company was late last month." It was postmarked 1 day late. A mistake. "We're just concerned, Dad. Your memory." Clara let the sentence hang. I began to doubt myself. Maybe I was becoming forgetful. Maybe the house was too much. The seed of their concern took root in my own mind. That is the most effective kind of gaslighting. It is a partnership. You start to do it to yourself. In January, I received a letter from my bank. It was a routine notice about a new beneficiary form on my savings account. I had not made any changes. I called the bank. The representative was hesitant. The changes were made in person, sir, by you and your son, David Finch. It was noted that you required assistance. I felt a cold clarity. I had not been to the bank with David in over a year. What changes were made? I asked. I can't disclose details over the phone to an unauthorized party. You'll need to come in. I am the account holder. The notes indicate a power of attorney may be on file. That complicates phone verification. Power of attorney. The words were ice in my veins. I went to the bank the next morning. I asked for the branch manager. Her name was Linda. I have banked there for 30 years. She knew me. She knew Alina. Her smile was strained. Arthur, good to see you. Let's talk in my office. In her office, she showed me the paperwork. It was a durable power of attorney. It named David and Clara as my co-agents. It appeared to be signed by me, dated 2 months after my wrist injury. The signature looked like mine, but it was off. The tail of the R in Arthur was a bit shaky. I have a slight tremor. It was a good forgery, probably traced. I did not sign this, I said. My voice was still calm. A deep, still pond. Linda looked pained. Your son was very clear. He said you've been having good days and bad days. He said you signed it on a good day but might not remember. It's not uncommon. He lied, I said, simple, factual. Without a formal challenge, Arthur, this document is valid. It gives them broad authority over finances, property. Can you freeze the account? With a valid POA on file, they are legally you for banking purposes. I can require both agents to sign for major transactions, as a courtesy, but I cannot revoke it. I left the bank. The winter sun was bright. It felt like a mockery. This was not an emotional crime. It was a procedural one. It was done with papers and polite lies. It was designed to make me look unreliable, to make my truth sound like confusion. I went home. I did not call my children. I made coffee. I watched the maple tree. Its branches were bare. It looked stark, strong. I realized then, this was a war, but not a war of shouting. It was a war of documents, of records, of patience. I went to my filing cabinet. It is a heavy metal thing. Alina called it the archive. I have every important paper from the last 50 years. Tax returns, property deeds, insurance policies, receipts for major appliances. I began to create a new system, a parallel system. I bought a simple notebook, a ledger. On the first page, I wrote the date. I wrote, "Today I learned a power of attorney has been forged. I begin this record." Every day I made an entry, not an emotional diary, a log. January 12th, 9 a.m., took medication. 10 a.m., paid electric bill online. Confirmation number recorded. 2 p.m., had clear phone call with Dr. Evans regarding annual physical. No memory issues noted in my chart. Requested copy of visit summary. I documented everything. I took photos of my completed crosswords, proof of mental acuity. I scanned and saved every bill I paid on time. I recorded my Sunday calls with my children. My state is a one-party consent state. I checked. I began to see the pattern. Their strategy was erosion. They were not monsters. They were my children. They had convinced themselves this was care. Perhaps they even believed it. That made it more dangerous. They saw my independence as a problem to be solved, my assets as a chaos to be managed. The next escalation was medical. I went for my annual physical. My doctor, Raj Evans, is a good man, thorough. He asked the usual questions. I performed the usual tasks, remember 3 words, draw a clock. He said I was fine for my age, some minor arthritis, excellent cardiovascular health. A week later, I received a call from his office. a new patient coordinator. She said they were updating files. She asked if I had appointed a healthcare proxy. I said I had. It was a leaner. I had never updated it. Our records show a new document, she said. A healthcare power of attorney. It names David and Clara Finch. It was faxed from a law office. Green and Associates. I have not signed any such document, I said. It appears to be notarized. You may want to follow up with your family. I called Green and Associates. They would not speak to me. Client confidentiality. I was the client. But they said the acting agents had instructed them not to discuss matters with me due to my potential confusion. The forgery was branching, from financial to medical. I made an appointment with Dr. Evans. In person. I brought my ledger. I showed him the entries. I played a clip of a Sunday call where Clara gently suggested I might be forgetting to eat, followed by my log of that day's meals, documented with photos. Dr. Evans listened. He looked at the forged POA copy I had from the bank. He compared the signature to the one on his patient forms. This is troubling, Arthur, he said. The signature is similar, but the pen pressure is wrong. It's static. Yours has a natural flow. He sighed. I can't get involved in a family dispute, but I can do one thing. I can perform a formal cognitive assessment, a gold standard one. The results will be legally and medically defensible. I agreed. The assessment was grueling. It took 3 hours. It tested memory, reasoning, executive function. A week later, the results came. Dr. Evans gave me the report. You scored in the high normal range for a man your age. There is no clinical evidence of dementia or even mild cognitive impairment. This is a very strong result. I had the report notarized. I made 20 copies. The Sunday call after I received the report was telling. Clara asked, offhandedly, "So, how was your doctor's visit?" "It was fine," I said. "He gave me a clean bill of health." "That's great, Dad. But you know, those quick visits, they don't always catch everything. David and I were thinking of getting a second opinion, a geriatric specialist, just to be thorough." They were preemptively discrediting my own doctor, laying the groundwork. "That won't be necessary," I said. There was a silence. "We just worry," she said. Her voice had an edge now, a thin veneer of patience over steel. "You're not thinking clearly about your own safety." That was the phrase, not thinking clearly, the ultimate dismissal. I knew I needed a lawyer, but not just any lawyer. I needed a specialist in elder law, and I needed one outside of my small city, where my children's social connections held no sway. I found her through a state bar association referral. Her name was Miriam Vance. Her office was 2 hours away. I drove there on a Tuesday. Her office was quiet, professional, no frills. I laid out the facts. I showed her the bank paperwork, the medical proxy issue, my ledger, my cognitive report. I played the audio clips. She listened without interruption. She took notes on a legal pad. When I finished, she set her pen down. "Mr. Finch," she said, "this is a coordinated pattern of financial exploitation and attempted involuntary guardianship. The forgeries are felonies, but proving it will be methodical and stressful. Your children will accuse you of paranoia. They will say we are poisoning you against them. Are you prepared for that?" I looked out her window. The sky was a flat winter gray. "Yes," I said, "I am prepared." The goal is not revenge. The goal is to restore your legal autonomy, to create a firewall they cannot breach, and to document their actions so thoroughly that any future attempt is impossible. "That is the goal," I agreed. "Then we begin with a revocation," she said. "You will sign a formal revocation of any and all powers of attorney. We will have it notarized with multiple witnesses. We will send it by certified mail to every institution. Bank, brokerage, doctors, utilities. We will also file it with the county recorder. We will create a paper avalanche." She continued. "Simultaneously, we will draft new documents, a new financial power of attorney, a new healthcare directive. You will name a neutral third party, a professional fiduciary. It is an extra cost, but it removes the conflict of interest. I agree to everything. Next, we will send a cease and desist letter to David and Clara. It will instruct them to no longer represent themselves as your agents, to refrain from contacting your financial or medical providers. It will be a warning shot. And if they ignore it, I asked. Then we escalate. We petition the court for a protective order. We file a civil suit for financial exploitation. We refer the forgeries to the district attorney. She paused. They will likely back down before that. The exposure is too great, but we must be ready to go all the way. I signed the papers in her office. 2 impartial witnesses from her staff observed. A notary sealed it. The revocation was real. It was legal. It was my first counterattack. Miriam sent the packages. The letters were delivered. The reaction was not long in coming. My phone rang that Sunday morning. It was not our usual time. It was 8 a.m. David's name flashed on the screen. I let it go to voicemail. He called again and again, then Clara called. I picked up on her 4th call. Dad, her voice was not soft anymore. It was sharp with panic and anger. What have you done? We just got letters from a lawyer accusing us of terrible things. What is going on? I have revoked your authority, I said. My voice was even, quiet. You no longer speak for me. You can't do that. You're not competent. That lawyer is taking advantage of you. She's filling your head with nonsense. My cognitive assessment says otherwise. Dr. Evans's report is clear. I have copies for you. That report is wrong, she shouted. Then she caught herself. She forced her voice back into the gentle tone. It cracked under the strain. Dad, please, you're sick. You don't understand what you're doing. You're going to lose everything. That lawyer will drain your accounts. I understand perfectly, I said. You tried to take my house. You forged my name. You tried to control my medical care. I am stopping you. The line was silent for a full 10 seconds. We were trying to help you, David said. He had joined the call. His voice was low, cold. You're an old man. You're a danger to yourself. We have a responsibility. You have no responsibility over me, I said. The letters from my attorney are clear. Do not contact my providers again. Do not attempt to represent me. Or what? David challenged. Or we proceed to court. The evidence is substantial. The forgeries are criminal. You have no evidence, Clara snapped. I have the bank's documents. I have the signature analysis from my doctor. I have 2 months of logs detailing my fully competent life. I have audio recordings of you questioning my memory. I have the deposit slip for the Cedars, which you made without my consent. It is all evidence. The silence this time was profound. It was the silence of a trap closing. They had not seen the trap being built. They had been too busy believing their own narrative. You recorded us, Clara whispered. The betrayal in her voice was magnificent. It ignored her own betrayals completely. For my protection, I said. It was necessary. We're your children, David roared. And you were my predators, I said. I did not raise my voice. The contrast was total. The conversation is over. All future communication must go through Miriam Vance. I hung up. I sat at my kitchen table. My hand was steady. The coffee was still warm. I took a sip. The sun was higher now. It glinted off the frost on the maple branches. I felt no triumph, only a vast, hollow sadness, and beneath it a layer of granite resolve. The cease and desist letter worked for a month. A tense, quiet month. I knew it was not over. People who believe they are righteous do not surrender easily. Their next move would be bigger. It would be a legal preemptive strike. It came on a Thursday. A sheriff's deputy served me with papers at my door. His face was apologetic. Sorry about this, sir, he murmured. It was a petition for appointment of guardian and conservator, filed by David and Clara Finch in the Superior Court of our county. They were asking the court to declare me incapacitated. to strip me of all legal rights, to appoint them as my guardians and conservators. This would give them total control over my person, over my estate, over my life. The petition was filled with lies. It stated I had severe short-term memory loss, that I left the stove on, that I was vulnerable to financial scams, that I was neglecting my health and hygiene, that I was isolated and paranoid. It included affidavits, one from a concerned neighbor, Mrs. Gable, who said she often saw me wandering the yard looking confused. Mrs. Gable was Clara's former college roommate. She lived 3 streets over. She had never spoken to me. Another affidavit was from a family friend who claimed I had become irrationally angry and accusatory. This was a business associate of David. The final affidavit was from a Dr. Lennox, a geriatric psychiatrist. He stated he had reviewed my medical records. He concluded I showed signs of progressive dementia. He had never met me. He had been hired and paid by my children. The petition was a masterwork of legal fiction. It painted a picture of a feeble, confused old man, a man whose loving children were stepping in to save him from himself. This was the secondary attack, the one Miriam had warned me about. They were going for guardianship, the nuclear option. I called Miriam. She was not surprised. "They've panicked," she said. "The revocation took away their control. Now they're trying to get it back with the full force of the court. This is serious, Arthur. Guardianship petitions are often granted. Judges tend to err on the side of protection, especially when family members are unified." "But the evidence," I started. "We have evidence. They have a narrative and a paid expert. We have a battle ahead. The court will appoint a guardian ad litem, an independent attorney to investigate and report to the judge on your best interests. That person is critical." "What do I do?" "You follow the plan. We respond aggressively. We file a motion to dismiss. We present our evidence. We demand a hearing. And we request the court order an independent neuropsychological evaluation by a court-appointed expert, not their hired gun." The next weeks were a blur of paperwork. My life was reduced to motions, exhibits, and declarations. Miriam filed our response. It was a 50-page document. It included my cognitive report, Dr. Evans's declaration attesting to my capacity, a forensic document examiner's analysis of the forged POA signatures, my daily logs, summaries of the audio recordings, copies of the revoked POAs. It also included a declaration from me. I wrote it myself. Miriam helped with the formatting. I told the truth, simply, without embellishment. I described my life, my routines, my competence. I described my children's gradual takeover attempt. I expressed my sadness, my bewilderment at their actions. I stated clearly that I did not need a guardian, that I feared my children's motives. The court appointed a guardian ad litem. Her name was Susan Park. She was a sharp-eyed woman in her 50s. She came to my house. She interviewed me for 2 hours. She asked probing questions. She looked at my filing cabinet. She saw the meticulous logs. She asked to see me pay a bill online. I did. She asked me about current events. I told her. She was neutral, thorough. She then interviewed David and Clara, separately. She requested their financial records. She requested any communications about me and my estate. Miriam told me this was good. A diligent gal was our best hope. A week later, the court ordered the independent evaluation. I was to see Dr. Eris Thorne, a neuropsychologist at the university hospital. His appointment was set for 3 weeks away. The waiting was the hardest part. The legal process is slow. It is a grinding machine. It does not care about your anxiety, your sleepless nights. David and Clara launched a charm offensive. They called me. They left messages filled with fake concern. "Dad, we can stop this. Just agree to see Dr. Lennox. Agree to a financial manager. We can drop the petition." They were offering a compromise that still meant surrender. I did not respond. They sent flowers, a gilt bouquet. I threw them in the compost. The day of the evaluation with Dr. Thorne arrived. It was even more intense than the first. He tested everything. He asked about the petition. He asked about my relationship with my children. He was observing my emotional state as much as my cognition. After 4 hours, he told me nothing. His report would go to the court and the gal. The hearing date was set. It was a month away. During that month, Susan Park, the guardian ad litem, completed her investigation. She requested a meeting with Miriam and me. We met in Miriam's office. Susan's demeanor was professional, but her eyes held a hint of something, pity or perhaps anger. "My report is complete," she said. "I will be filing it with the court tomorrow. I am recommending the petition for guardianship be denied, in the strongest possible terms." The relief was so physical, I had to put a hand on the desk. "My investigation found no credible evidence of incapacity," she continued. "To the contrary, Mr. Finch demonstrates remarkable organization and clarity. The evidence of undue influence by the petitioners, however, is compelling. The forged power of attorney is particularly egregious. The affidavits from the neighbor and family friend appear to be based on misinformation provided by the petitioners." She looked at me. "Mr. Finch, I am sorry your children put you through this. My report will also recommend the court consider sanctions against them for filing a frivolous and malicious petition." "Thank you," I said. The words felt inadequate. The hearing was anticlimactic. That is how justice often is. It happens in quiet rooms, with people in suits speaking in legal code. David and Clara were there with their lawyer. They looked confident, until they saw Susan Park's report on the judge's bench, a thick, damning document. Their lawyer asked for a continuance. He said they needed time to review the new evidence. The judge denied it. Miriam presented our case. She was concise. She pointed to the cognitive reports, the forensic analysis, the logs. She played a 2-minute clip of a recorded call, the one where Clara said I was not thinking clearly. The judge, a weary-looking man named Judge Ellis, listened. He read sections of the Gal report. He looked at David and Clara. "Mr. and Ms. Finch," he said, "this petition appears to be a solution in search of a problem. Worse, it appears to be an attempt to gain control over a competent adult who does not wish to grant it. The evidence of capacity is overwhelming. The evidence of your overreach is concerning." He banged his gavel, a soft, definitive tap. "Petition for guardianship is denied, permanently. Furthermore, I am issuing a restraining order. You are prohibited from filing any further petitions regarding your father's capacity without prior leave of this court. You are to have no contact with his financial or medical institutions. The forged power of attorney is referred to the district attorney's office for investigation. Court is adjourned." It took less than 20 minutes. David and Clara stared ahead. Their faces were pale masks of shock. They had not expected to lose. They had believed their own story too completely. We left the courtroom. They hurried out a different door. I did not look at them. In the hallway, Miriam squeezed my arm. "It's over, Arthur. You are free." The aftermath was not a celebration. It was a reconstruction. The district attorney reviewed the case. They decided to pursue charges: forgery, attempted financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult. The words vulnerable adult stung, but they were the legal trigger. David and Clara were charged with felonies. Their lawyers negotiated a plea deal. They pled guilty to misdemeanor forgery. They avoided jail time. They received probation. They were ordered to pay all my legal fees. They were ordered to complete community service. The convictions were public record. David lost his job in tech. Background checks revealed the moral turpitude clause. Clara was demoted. The retail chain did not want a manager with a financial exploitation conviction. The financial restitution came. Miriam's fees, the cost of the forensic examiner, the fees for the professional fiduciary. It was a significant sum. It was taken from their savings, from their futures. They did not call me again. The silence was absolute. I stayed in my house. I watched the maple tree. It is spring now. The buds are a brilliant green. I hired a handyman for the things I cannot do. I have a new doctor. I updated all my documents. The professional fiduciary, a calm, efficient woman named Bate, is my backup. She checks in quarterly. We have tea. She reviews my accounts. She finds no errors. My life is quiet. It is my own. Sometimes, in the deep quiet of the evening, I feel the ghost of their betrayal. It is not a sharp pain anymore. It is a dull ache, like an old fracture that warns of rain. I wonder what they tell themselves now. Do they still believe they were trying to save me? Have they rewritten the story again, casting me as the villain who destroyed their lives out of spite? I will never know, and I do not need to know. The law saw the truth. The paperwork told the real story. My quiet, meticulous records were my salvation. In the end, the documents were more faithful than my own children. I have my home. I have my mornings. I have my dignity. That is the quiet justice. It leaves no room for gloating, only for a profound, enduring sorrow. The question that remains is not for them. It is for me, in these still hours before the dawn. When did the children I raised become strangers I needed protection from? I sold the house in the end. It wasn't because I couldn't keep it up. My handyman, Leo, was perfectly capable. It wasn't because of the memories either. The good ones, the ones with a leaner, they were stronger than the bad. It was the silence. After the legal storm passed, the silence in the rooms wasn't peaceful anymore. It was listening. It felt like the walls themselves had heard every strained phone call, every plotted whisper. The house had become a witness, and I no longer wanted to live inside a witness. I put it on the market in early summer. The maple tree was in full, glorious leaf. The real estate agent said it was a selling feature. I didn't tell her it was the main reason I'd stayed as long as I had. The sale was straightforward. No sentiment, just numbers. I made a significant profit, 47 years of equity. It was more money than I knew what to do with. Miriam Vance helped me structure it. We set up trusts. One for my care, managed by Bate, the fiduciary. Another, a charitable remainder trust. Upon my death, it would fund a legal aid clinic for elder rights. I liked the symmetry. Miriam approved. She said it was a powerful final instruction. I bought a condominium. It's in a small, well-run building near the botanical gardens. It's on the ground floor. No stairs. It has a patio that looks onto a courtyard with a fountain. The sound of water is constant. It drowns out other silences. I brought only a fraction of my belongings. The best furniture. Eleanor's favorite reading lamp. My archive, the metal filing cabinet, now sits in a spare bedroom that is my office. It is my monument to proof. Leo, the handyman, helped me move. He's a man of few words. He packed the filing cabinet with a kind of reverence as if he knew what it contained. He didn't ask questions. I paid him well. He still comes by the condo to change air filters and check the plumbing. It's a different relationship now. He's not just hired help. He's a quiet ally, a person who exists outside the old story. The first autumn in the condo was strange. No maple tree to watch, but the ginkgo tree in the courtyard turned a brilliant yellow. Then it dropped all its leaves in one day, a golden carpet. There was a beauty in that, too, a decisive change. I thought the legal conclusion was the end. It wasn't. It was just the end of the public battle. The private one continued in small, internal skirmishes. I'd be reading a book and suddenly wonder, did I really leave the stove on that one time? The doubt they'd planted was a weed with deep roots. I'd have to get up, walk to the kitchen, see the cold, black stovetop. I kept a notepad by the stove. I wrote down off every time I left the kitchen. I did this for 6 months. Then I stopped. The habit of doubt finally lost to the habit of fact. The holidays were the hardest. The first Thanksgiving alone. I ordered a meal from a nice restaurant. It was too much food. I ate a plateful, watched a documentary about bridges. It was fine. It was just a day. In December, I received a Christmas card. It wasn't from David or Clara. It was from Susan Park, the guardian ad litem. A simple card, a winter scene. Inside, she had written, "Wishing you peace and a quiet new year. You remain an impressive example of resilience." Susan. It was unexpected. It was professional, yet it acknowledged the human truth of what had happened. I felt seen by a stranger in a way I had not been seen by my own children. I sent her a card in return. A donation receipt to the botanical gardens in her name. No personal note, just the receipt. She would understand. Then, in March, the letter came. It was addressed to me in careful, unfamiliar handwriting. The postmark was from a town 2 states over. I opened it at my kitchen table, the fountain gurgling outside. It was from Clara, not an email, not a call, a physical letter, a weapon of intimacy. Dear Dad asterisk, I don't know if you'll read this. I hope you do. I'm writing from a place of deep regret. The last 2 years have been a nightmare for us all. I have had a lot of time to think, to reflect on what went wrong. We were wrong, I see that now. We were scared. We saw you getting older. We saw the fall. We thought we were doing the right thing, the responsible thing. We got in over our heads. We listened to bad advice. We let fear make our decisions. We never meant to hurt you. We only ever wanted to help. The consequences have been devastating. David lost his career. I am barely holding on to mine. The legal fees wiped out our savings. Our families don't understand. We are pariahs. This is our burden to bear. We accept that. But I need you to know it was never about money. It was never about the house. It was about love. A twisted, fearful kind of love, but love nonetheless. You are our father. That hasn't changed. I don't ask for forgiveness. I don't ask for anything. I just wanted you to know that I am sorry, truly, deeply sorry for everything. Clara. I read it 3 times. The prose was careful. It was a performance of remorse. It was also a masterpiece of revision. We got in over our heads, as if it were a financial miscalculation. We listened to bad advice, shifting blame to a phantom. It was never about money, the most blatant lie of all. The forged POA was a financial instrument. The Cedars deposit was a financial transaction. The guardianship was for control of an estate. And then, the core of it was about love. That was the gaslighting, refined to its final form, rewriting a predatory legal assault as a misguided act of care. It sought to change the past, to alter the record in my own mind, to replace the hard, documented truth with a soft, sentimental fiction. I felt a cold anger. It was a clean feeling, sharp. It was better than the hollow sadness. I did not reply. A reply would be an engagement. It would be a negotiation over the new narrative she was trying to build. I refused the invitation. Instead, I took the letter. I walked to my office. I opened the metal filing cabinet. I have a section labeled Post-Judgment Communications. I made a new file. I placed the letter inside. I scanned it first, saved it to a secure cloud drive Miriam had helped me set up. I updated my ledger. March 14th, received letter from Clara. Contains claims of remorse, revision of events, love, bad advice. No request for financial or legal action. Filed for record. No response initiated. Documentation was my ritual, my way of anchoring reality. A month later, a similar letter came from David. It was shorter, more defensive. He spoke of a perfect storm of misunderstandings and everyone's best intentions going awry. He said his children missed their grandfather. He included a school photo of my 2 grandsons. They were dressed in collared shirts, smiling stiffly. I barely recognized them. That was the hook, the emotional lever, the grandchildren. I felt a pang, a genuine one. Those boys were innocent. They were casualties in a war they knew nothing about. But their image was being used as a tool, a weapon of emotional coercion. I scanned the letter. I scanned the photo. I filed them in the same folder. My ledger entry was simple. David's letter received, includes photo of grandsons, filed. I did not frame the photo. I did not put it on the refrigerator. I sealed it in an archive. Miriam called for our quarterly check-in. I told her about the letters. "It's common," she said, her voice calm over the speakerphone. "They are trying to rebuild a bridge, on their terms. The narrative of misguided love is easier for them to live with than criminal exploitation. It's a survival mechanism for their own psyches." "Should I respond with a cease and desist?" I asked. "That's your call, Arthur. They are not making demands. They are expressing sentiment. A court wouldn't view these as violations of the restraining order, but you have a right to peace. If you want all contact to stop, we can send a letter stating that any further communication is unwelcome and will be considered harassment." I thought about it. The letters were unsettling, but they were also evidence, proof of their ongoing campaign to reshape history. "No," I said. "Let them write. I'll keep filing. If they ever escalate, if they ever ask for money or try to re-engage legally, the pattern is documented. Their words will contradict their earlier pleas in court." "Strategic," Miriam said. I heard the approval in her voice. "You've become a formidable archivist." "I had good teachers," I said. I meant her. I meant Susan Park. I meant Dr. Evans. They had shown me that truth lives in systems, in sequences, in evidence. Spring turned to summer. The fountain in the courtyard became a gathering spot for birds. I bought a bird guide. I learned their names. House Finch, I smiled at that. A coincidence, or perhaps not. I started volunteering. 2 mornings a week at the botanical gardens. I don't do heavy lifting. I sit at a desk in the membership office. I answer questions. I process renewals. It gets me out. It puts me among people who know nothing of my past. To them, I am just Arthur, the polite older volunteer. It is a relief to have a role so simple. One afternoon, I returned from the gardens to find a voicemail on my landline. I keep the landline for emergencies. Few people have the number. The voice was David's. He sounded strained, tired. "Dad, it's David. I'm calling because I don't know what else to do. We're in a bad way. The probation fees, the restitution, it's wiped us out. My severance is gone. Clara's salary is cut. We're looking at losing our houses. The boys, I'm not asking you for money. I'm telling you the truth. This is the consequence you wanted. I hope it brings you some peace, to know you've ruined us." Click. There it was. The mask had slipped. The love narrative had cracked under financial pressure. This was not an apology. It was an accusation, a transfer of guilt. "This is the consequence you wanted." I played it again. He believed it. He truly believed I had orchestrated their ruin, that I had wanted this. In his mind, he was the victim of a vengeful old man, not a man defending himself from a takeover. I saved the voicemail. I uploaded the audio file to the cloud. I made a new entry in the ledger. Then I did something I had not done before. I created a new document, a simple timeline. I started at the beginning. My fall, the broken wrist. I listed each step. The shared calendar, the password manager, the deposit on the Cedars, the forged POA, the fabricated healthcare proxy, the petition for guardianship, the false affidavits. I listed their actions in one column. In a parallel column, I listed my responses, my ledger, my doctor's visit, my hearing of Miriam, the revocation, the cognitive tests, the legal defense. At the bottom of the timeline, I wrote a single sentence. At no point did I initiate an action against them. Every move I made was a reaction to their initiated action against me. I printed it. I put it in the filing cabinet. It was for me a schematic of the war. It showed the clear line of aggression and defense. It was my answer to his voicemail, an answer I would never send. The call decided things for me. I instructed Bate, my fiduciary, to alter my estate plans. The charitable trust for elder law would remain. But the residual estate, what was left after my care, would now be divided among several specific charities: the botanical gardens, the local library, a fund for training court-appointed guardians ad litem. My children and grandchildren were formally, explicitly disinherited, not just omitted, named and excluded. It was a cold legal finality. Bate executed the documents without comment. She brought them for me to sign. She witnessed my signature. "This is very clear, Arthur," was all she said. "Clarity is the point," I replied. That winter, I received a formal notice from the probate court in Davids County. He had filed for bankruptcy. Chapter 7, liquidation. It was a public document. His assets would be sold to pay creditors. I was listed as a creditor due the final portion of the restitution. I would receive a few $100s from the trustee. I sent the notice to Miriam. She handled it. The money, when it came, went directly into the charitable trust. I never touched it. The bankruptcy was the final, concrete failure, the ultimate consequence of their plan. They had tried to secure my assets, and in the process, they had lost their own. I felt nothing as I read the notice. No schadenfreude, no pity. It was just a fact, a logical outcome, like a mathematical equation finally solved. Time passes differently after a great conflict. It becomes granular, measured in small routines. The coffee, the walk to the gardens, the bird guide, the weekly dinner with Leo, who now comes not as a handyman but as a friend. We eat simple meals. We talk about the weather, the news. He is building a boat in his garage. He shows me pictures of the progress. It is a good, concrete thing. My health remains stable. Dr. Evans retired. My new doctor is younger. She reviews my charts. She sees the cognitive reports. She tells me I am in excellent shape. She has no reason to doubt me. The condo association board asked me to serve as treasurer last year. They had heard I was good with paperwork. I agreed. It is a small responsibility. I reconcile the accounts. I sign the checks for landscape maintenance. It is a vote of confidence from a community of strangers. It means more to me than I can say. 2 years have passed since the hearing. 5 since the first forged signature. I am sitting on my patio. It is early morning. The fountain is murmuring. A house finch is bathing in the shallow edge, fluttering its wings. I think of the maple tree. I wonder who lives in my old house now. I hope they appreciate the way the light filters through the leaves in the afternoon. The question is not about forgiveness. That is a religious concept, and I am not a religious man. The question is about understanding. I understand the mechanics of what happened. The greed, the fear, the sense of entitlement disguised as concern. I have the paperwork that explains it all. But there is a deeper mystery, one no document can solve. The love I had for them as children was real. The bedtime stories, the scraped knees, the proud moments at graduations. That love was a thread that ran through decades. When did that thread break? Was it a single, sharp cut? Or did it just fray over years from neglect, from the slow corrosion of their ambition and my quiet contentment? They chose to see my independence as a problem, my autonomy as a flaw. They chose to see me not as a person, but as a set of assets and liabilities, a portfolio to be managed. In doing so, they erased the father I was. They replaced me with a caricature, a confused, vulnerable old man. They needed that caricature to justify their actions. They had to believe it to proceed. And I, in my defense, had to become someone else too. I had to become the archivist, the strategist, the unflinching witness against my own children. We all became characters in a terrible story. None of us emerged as who we were before. The house finch flies away, droplets of water shaking from its wings. I have peace, I have security, I have a life of my own design. It is a good life, a dignified one. But I am left with this one, haunting reflection, the only question the paperwork can never answer. In saving myself from them, did I also have to erase the last traces of the father they once knew?